perspective. It's my perspective. My perspective. My perspective. My perspective. My perspective. My perspective. It's my perspective. My perspective. My perspective. My perspective. My perspective. My perspective. It's my perspective. My perspective is my perspective.
And welcome to another episode of the New Afrikan Perspective. This is the show that is dedicated to the liberation of new African people. I'm your host, Brother Prophecy, and as always, I got by my side, got my back, my comrades, my freedom fighters, the one that I call when I'm in the bind. They're none other than the President and Vice President of the Republic of New Africa, and they are
Mama Ayo, free the land, comrades, free the land. How y'all doing?
No doubt, no doubt. We are part of something called the New African Independence Movement right here at the Republic of New Africa, PGRNA. Learn about it if you ain't heard about it. But of course, if you with us, you heard about it, you know about it. But that means we struggle and advocate for land, independence, self-determination, reparations, self-government, and the list goes on and on and on until you ultimately get something called true freedom, not make-believe freedom, not pseudo-freedom, not some pie in the sky, something that you get after the die, but something you get right here, right now, on earth that is tangible. And that's freedom, y'all. But every week we've been doing these beautiful principles from this magnificent document called the New African Creed, and we're already on principle number 6, y'all. What is principle number 6 of the New African Creed?
I believe that the fundamental
way
to gain that
power
and
oppression is to build
a
sovereign black nation.
That's correct. That's correct. And if that kind of throws you off, because number 6 kind of flows right off of number 5. So I'm gonna make sure that everybody know exactly what we mean by, when we gain that power. What power are you talking about? So like number 5 said, I believe that the fundamental reason our oppression continues is we as people lack the power to control our lives. That's number 5. And number 6 come right back after that. And as I say, I believe that the fundamental way to gain that power and to end that oppression is to build a sovereign black nation.
Yes.
It's heavy, y'all. I don't know if everybody ready for that one right there, y'all, because that hits at the heart of the problem, not only the problem, but the solution. What y'all think about New African Creed number 6?
Hey, that's why we're here. That's the only thing that we have come to this conclusion. After hundreds of years of being caught in this system, our ancestors, our elders, and now us have all come to the conclusion that, look, we have to do for self. And we give thanks for our ancestors who already paved the way, our elders who already paved the way, already got a plan of action for our Black nation. All they need is I to commit 100%. And so that's why we're here. That's why we show up every week. That's why we show up every week for each other, our village, our community, because we know what our blood responsibility is to build a sovereign Black nation. There is nothing else left for us to do. I mean, all remedies within this system has been exhausted. So, hey, we're doing the most logical thing that we can do with our lives at this point in time.
Ayo, you got anything you want to add to that?
Oh, I'm in total agreement. So I would say that it's all about the phrase that we're asking people to say all around the world: free the land.
That's right.
So what does your version, and I'm asking our listening audience, what is your version of freeing the land, a sovereign Black nation, look like? It should be better than anything that the world has ever known. Because if you think this is the best world for us right now, I ask you to do a little bit more. Open up your eyes and your heart, your mind and your soul. Are we living truthfully? Is this the heaven on earth that most of our Christian brothers and sisters think about, talk about? Is this it?
That's a good, very good point, because they said, we might be suffering today, we might be struggling today, but when you die, you're gonna get that beautiful pie on the sky, and we's gonna be free. You know what I'm saying? And I always ask people, be like, yo, we can't do better than that, because it seems like our suffering is leading to somebody's heaven right here on earth, because they are exploiting our suffering, our pain, and our hardship in order for them to gain the richest power and influence. So, yeah, I always say, is that the best we can do? Is this the best we can do? Living in a society that is based on the exploitation of man by man, a society that creates poverty, a society that has people starving when there is an abundance of food, have people homeless when there is an abundance of houses and buildings. Is that the best we can do, y'all? I think not. I think we can do better. I think we must do better. So
Yeah.
that's why principle number 6 is so important, because that is the way we do better. But how y'all doing?
Look now, it brings to mind something that I hear everybody say. We got to make it all make sense, like make it all
Mhm.
make sense. And that's what we're here to do. Make it all make sense. Come on, let's be
Make it
logical.
all make it all make sense. Because really, when you look at the mainstream narrative and what's going on in society, you'd be like, wait, this don't make no kind of sense. So, you got to put it in the proper perspective and make it make sense. It don't make sense because the people who are in control or in power are gaining their power and influence because they are exploiting the masses. And they don't necessarily want the masses to realize they're being exploited. So they're giving you a narrative that doesn't make sense because they don't want it to make sense. But anyway,
Mm,
Madam President, what we got
yeah.
on tap for the show today?
Okay, so the topic that we have decided that to talk about today, since it's quote unquote election day and all around, is voting. Has it
Mm,
ever been beneficial for African people? Has it been efficient for African people? What has it done for us? So we're going to discuss that as new African people. What is it actually doing for us? We're going to go in deep, and we want everybody to be honest. We live in reality now. We're not living in fairy tale. We look at what it really is. And so also we're going to discuss war in America. I think that's the the Malcolm X doctrine by Obadeli. That's the perfect document to discuss in the cadre corner, to go right along with our discussion of voting. And then, of course, we're going to honor the very first president of the provisional government of the Republic of New Africa.
mm. I think your sound cut out for a second.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
What was that first president? Who's that first president?
the very first, our first president. Oh, we are
Yeah, that's Mr. Robert Williams himself.
Robert Williams.
Robert Williams.
Robert Williams, our very
Yeah.
first.
All right, definitely. So I guess we probably need to start by getting into some of the things that have happened recently. And I'll start with a story. And I'm sorry, Madam President, it's probably gonna make you mad again, but I guess that ain't nothing new when we do talk about these things. Uh, Dang, hold on, my computer just went out on me. Excuse me, having technical difficulties. But there's an 8-year-old young man, young black child, who was severely burned, over 80% of his body severely burned, while he was over at a sleepover at a white friend's house. Now, his parents have several questions about this, because it seems like there's been an investigation, and the investigation is moving extremely slow, based on the details that surround this story. So, in August, 8-year-old Jason Charles was over his friend's house, a white family, for a sleep over. Now, his parents were at home and they received a phone call from JCN. When he answered the phone, they said hello, and the phone hung up. So they called back and they heard the young man screaming in the background, and the phone hung up. So they ran over, rushed over to the house. And when they went to the house, they found that this young 8-year-old boy was severely burned and he was covered with Vaseline and plastic wrap all over his body. So his parents was like, why didn't you call 911? Why didn't you call us? But the parents rushed him to the hospital, and as a result of his burns, he was burned over 80% of his body. Since that time, he has had several surgeries. Um, they had to remove 5 inches of his small intestines, which probably means he has to live with a colostomy bag for the rest of his life. He suffered from kidney failure while he was going through this. Also, sepsis and brain damage. And he's still struggling right now. And after all of these months, the investigation has moved slow. His parents are calling out saying, what's going on? They need some answers because they believe it's more to the story than just meeting the eye, but they are not getting any answers. And now the story is hit social media. That seems like that's the only way you get any kind of answers. Nowadays, you have to get maximum pressure, and people have to be embarrassed to the point where they do something. But yeah, this 8-year-old baby, Jacelyn Charles, and I'm gonna try to pull up an image of this brother, a young child. But yeah, he suffered all of this, and it seemed like neglect at minimum. But Sister Saab, what do you think about this?
I mean, it's a classic case of what we experience as a people. It's just a classic case. Oh my goodness. Is that the photo?
Yep, that's the photo. It's not the one I was looking for, but yeah, that's him. That's the baby right there.
Yeah, it's a classic case in terms of how we are treated as a people. So look, we bring forth these stories, y'all. If you need examples, it's example after example after example after example of the horrors that we face as a people within this system. So I mean, we got to move our feet. We know what we see. We know what we feel in our heart. But it's time for us to move our feet to rectify for ourselves what needs to take place. Is we time up for us being insane. We got to do this work.
Definitely. Mama Ayo?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I just am very, very upset by these kinds of stories because, as you spoke of earlier, Comrade Prophecy, that this is a man's inhumanity to man. You want to encourage your children to be world citizens. We sometimes believe that we have arrived by them being invited over to people's houses that don't look like them. And when a horrible thing happens, to be burned, and then you look at the reaction. First of all, the first thing that you should have done was call the parent, call 911, let them know that it's a terrible accident. By their very actions, it tells me that there was something suspicious that went on. I'm hoping that this young man has told his parents and was able to verbalize what actually went on, because there's all kinds of racist types of behaviors, attitudes, words that we have to teach our children to be sensitive to, and not just go running because somebody that doesn't look like them, of a different ethnic group, accepts them, wants to play with them, etc., etc. Because it's never in New Africans' mindset to want to deliberately put somebody on fire, torture them, beat on them, make them do certain things. So it's really disturbing to me, and I hope that the truth comes out. But this is another example. Like you don't let your children go too far without you. Spend the night, all kinds of unusual things. It's a wake up call on all levels. Wake up call. I yield.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with y'all 3,000, percent. It's crazy. I mean, it's just, it's always something. And this is because um this young man's life, if he makes, hopefully he will make it, but his life will never be the same. These are life-changing injuries he have. I mean, I know people who have to live with the colostomy bag. It's not easy. You know what I'm saying? It's like the whole way in which you use the bathroom has changed. You're using the bathroom on a bag that is pinned to your side, and he's 8 years old. And that's what he's going to have to endure for the rest of his life. Not to mention the kidney failure and the brain damage and the trauma of going through these type of things. So this is just horrible. And what stands out to me is that they received a phone call from his phone, and it instantly hung up. And they called back, and nobody answered. Nobody said anything. That just smells like you're covering something up. You don't want something, going on. And if you had time to rub the baby with Vaseline, put Vaseline all over his body, wrap him up with plastic wrap. You also had time to call 911. You also had time to call his parents. So you probably had time to take him to the hospital. But none of these things were done, and it's just so many questions that need to be answered. And the fact that they've gotten very little help from the authorities, from the investigations. And this is a child. I mean, this is just tell us that, look, can we do, like we said earlier, can't we do better? Is this what we need to accept? I think we have to demand better. We cannot accept this. We can't have our grandchildren and great great grandchildren growing up dealing with the same thing. Eventually, it has to be a generation that comes along to say enough is enough. We changing this. But let
Yes,
me
prophecy. Yes, Brother Prophecy. I hope you can hear me because I know my phone is crackling a little bit. But as a mother, as a grandmother, as somebody in the community that has seen that this is a horrible, 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 it's a horrible act. First of all, who told you to put Vaseline and wrap the child in saran wrap? I need somebody to tell me, have you ever read that as far as emergency medical treatment for somebody that has sustained a third-degree burn? Because what I know that your skin at third degree is going to peel off once you take that saran wrap and Vaseline off. I don't know if that, I don't personally know. Maybe as a medical person, you may know. Is that the first thing that we would do to make sure that there's, I guess, the minimal damage possible? So I'm wondering, was this a torturous situation? Because it sounds like when you're burnt over 80% of your body, you are in extreme pain. And if you've had to go through several operations, you've had brain damage, something happened from the time that this particular event occurred to the time they were able to get to the hospital and see what is happening. And all I can say in my calmest voice is there better be some justice, one way or the other.
Yeah.
And that will.
And it's just wrong all up. First wrong is the decision for this child to be even in this household. First, off top, to even be in a position to even get burnt. That's off top. I mean, it's wrong on all levels. And justice, just us, we the ones that's going to have to make sure we get justice these days.
Definitely.
That is our reality.
It's our reality. So moving on. So I know everybody's heard this story because it's the talk of everything. So there's a basketball player by the name of Kyrie Irving, black man. Um, kind of known for to be in controversy. Because last year he was suspended for basically the whole year because he refused to take the vaccine. And really, if we want to look at hindsight, he didn't really need to take it in the first place. But that, but Kyrie Irving, he's involved in some more controversy because he posted a picture basically of a movie, a documentary in a book, which is sold on Amazon. So he posted it from Amazon, from the Amazon website. And the book was entitled From Hebrews to Negroes. Now, there are people who said that this particular documentary is anti-Semitic and is very terrible and awful for Jewish people. So he had some tremendous backlash from this. I mean, ridiculous. One, they suspended him from playing basketball. His shoe contract with Nike was suspended. And they gave a list of demands that he has to fulfill before he can come back and play for his basketball team. Among them, he has to apologize and condemn the movie. 2, he has to pay $500,000 to anti-hate causes. 3, he has to have sensitivity training. 4, he has to have anti-Semitic training. 5, he must meet with the Anti-Defamation League. And also, he must meet with his team owner and demonstrate that he has learned his lesson. Now, initially, Kyrie Irving.
What was the exact quote that he said? What was the exact quote he said again?
Well, he didn't say anything. He just posted a picture of this documentary. He didn't say anything. His words was like, he even said that he didn't stand with everything that was in the documentary. He's saying he wasn't representing everything that was in the documentary. He was just posting it because history should not be hidden from anybody. And he said that he would not back down from what he believed, that he ain't trying to hurt nobody, that he has love and respect for every religion and all of these type of things, that that's not really what he was on, but he was just posting this particular documentary. And he even said if anybody was hurt by anything he did, he apologized for that. But the NBA and the powers that be and the particular people that he offended said that ain't good enough. No, that ain't good enough. And they really going at this guy, and it's become a really big deal. And you have all of the coon Negroes out condemning him, the Charles Barkley, even the Shaquille O'Neals, who just talking bad about the brother, saying all type of terrible things. He's like a terrible human being. When actually, when you look at the brother, he's actually rather humble, and he just said that understanding, I'm trying to get the quote that he said. He said, understanding my history, there's no reason for me to apologize for being anti-Semitic. Now, if you understand anything about actually what the word Semitic means, which it has a lot of definition. One, it means individuals who speak certain languages, meaning Hebrew, Arabic, Aramaic, and some more Mediterranean languages. It also means Afro-Asiatic. It means a lot of things, but it doesn't necessarily mean European Jewish person, which the European Jewish people are the ones, and I shouldn't just say all of them, but a specific, group of them are the ones who are attacking them and whatnot. But one point that has been raised, that a couple of people have started to raise, was they are attacking Kyrie Irving for this documentary. And this documentary is supposed to be so bad, so hateful, so harmful for people. But they ain't said nothing to Jeff Bezos. They ain't said nothing to Amazon, because the documentary is still being sold by Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Bezos is still making money off of the documentary. And since this controversy went, the sales of this documentary have went sky high. So that seemed like that's a backfire. But yeah, nobody is saying anything to Jeff Bezos and the individuals who have been benefiting from this documentary. But they're talking about Kyrie, which seems really hypocritical, because if this documentary is so bad, why aren't you condemning the people who's actually profiting from it? Because Kyrie ain't making a dime from it. He just posted a picture of it. So
Mhm.
I'll open it up. What you want to
I mean,
say
but
about
the thing, when you own your own, and this yours, and you can make up the rules, that's what you can do. You can box whoever you want to box out. And we've always been boxed out. That's
it?
this particular system. Now, if we want to stand on our own two, you know, and create for ourselves, then we can control how that narrative goes. You know, so it's a matter of choice. Um, it's quite interesting. I mean, these are folks. These are the people that are in those high places and spaces. So of course they can do whatever they want to do. You unite with them. When you underneath contract with them, that's you uniting with them. These people that don't have your best interest at heart. This is the choice that's made. So if this young brother, strong brother wants he's getting a taste of what this actually is. You know what I mean? And people are complaining, oh, well, this, that. I mean, this is what it is. Good. Let all the reality come out so that we can handle it in more appropriate manner versus being so reactionary. Huh? We just reacting to stuff. Oh, that's wrong. Okay, well, why is it wrong? Why is it wrong? And how can you actually shift and change when you can't control what another man does? Because you control what you do. So accountability. Now when we start seeing stuff in the news, accountability. Let's hold ourselves accountable because
Mhm.
we haven't done what's necessary on a massive collective scale to end it. So let's hold ourselves accountable. Good. I'm happy folks is mad.
Mhm. Well said. Well said. Mama Ayo, you want to chime in? You have to unmute yourself, Mama Ayo.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm definitely going to veg you back on what you have shared, what President Sa has spoken about. Because remember, uh, how do we combat that particular action? We already know that because of the events that occurred in World War II, that we have a lot of people who call themselves Jewish. They have established the state of Israel. They have created a power structure in this country through the Anti Defamation League. They have built this over time. They have the entire world paying reparations to them, to the state of Israel, including the United States government and all the European countries that participated in the Holocaust of the what we call the Ashkenazi Jews. So at this particular point, their power extends from the radio, television, newspaper, political machines, etc., etc. And they do not want you to say one thing, whether it's true or false, about Jews. And when you do, you can take many, many cases. Whoopi Goldberg. Now you have Kyrie Irwin. You have others. They quickly and completely shut people down to the point where you have to look and say, well, who has power in this country? Obviously, is going to be the Jewish community, and who does not have power in this community. And of course, it has to be New Africans. And with that particular power that the Jewish community, the Jewish society has in this country, uh, when they say jump, all of their lackeys and all of the institutions which they run and have control over, they're going to jump. What do we expect? We know what the relationship between the Jewish community and New Africans are. We have a whole book, and it was explained to us the secret relationship of Jews and blacks. After all, some of those Ashkenazi Jews were very, very responsible for the slave trade. and
Yep.
they know it. We have the documentation. We have receipts. Why are we having a conversation about this person?
Yep.
Because he is exercising his right to self-determination and knowing who he is as a new African. And when he speaks his truth, he don't have the power. This one individual does not stand behind the power of the Nation of Islam, of the Republic of New Africa, where we say we mean, and we mean what we say. He doesn't have that. He's a basketball player, and his whole salary and career depends on that that machine, that basketball machine, which is run and controlled by Jewish people. I yield.
Very well said, both of you. Actually, yesterday on the Voices of New Africa, we went in depth about like the history of some of the things that are controversial, and we really put it in a proper analysis. So if you want to really learn more about this subject, just check out yesterday's show on the Voices of New Africa. We went in depth about it, but just a little about this. One thing about it, this particular group has been very successful at weaponizing the label of anti-Semitic, because anytime someone has a valid critique of their movement, and the movement that we're talking about, because it's not necessarily, the critique is not about the Jewish religion, because really Judaism is not a people, it is a religion. It seems like it's a people because a certain group of them have created a movement called Zionism, which has been so powerful and so effective that it has allowed that a small minority group of people to amass a disproportionate amount of resources, power, and influence over the entire world. And they have done a successful job in weaponizing the word anti-Semitic. Therefore, anytime you have a legitimate critique or not legitimate critique, anytime you say anything negative about their movement, regardless to what it is, they viciously attack you, and they can dismiss the critique or the criticism, which allows them to continue to go about their business unchecked and unchallenged. And first and foremost, there should never be any organization, point blank, that is above criticism. Being the fact that this particular one is, got to tell you a lot, and especially, what you talked about, Mama Ayo, in the secret relationship between blacks and Jews. Jewish people have had an exploitive relationship with black people for a very long time, going back to the slave trade. There were like these Ashkenazi Jews, in which you talk about, and exactly what an Ashkenazi Jew is something we really need to understand. Really, a Kaiser, Ashkenazi, Hasidic, all of these European Jewish people, these are individuals who converted to Judaism almost 1,000 years after what they claim, their claims to Israel happened. So, this whole, it's ironic that the people who's going around calling everybody anti-Semitic are not even authentic and real Jewish people. The people that they call anti-Semitic have a closer bloodline to real Jewish people than they do. But that's another story. But like I said, they have been very successful at weaponizing labels and punishing anyone who has just a simple critique against them. And I mean, you can go back to the music industry. There's a rapper by the name of Common who had one line in one song of his whole album. That one line said, "This hip hop game is ran by a bunch of old Jewish white men." That's the only thing he said. And they took his whole album off the shelf, took it whole album off, took that song out, and then redistributed it. But at the same time, you don't see these Jewish record company owners who promote some of the most self-destructive, self-hating, violent music in the black community. You don't say them anything when somebody come out and say, "We're gonna murder 42 black people within one verse of a song." We're going to disrespect all the black women in the world in one verse of a song. So these are some of the type of things that these particular organization is being criticized for. And when you criticize them for for legitimate things, you still get viciously attacked. And I think it's important that we have a correct analysis and we understand completely, what's going on. And then we understand that, not only, is this the reality of the situation, but the reality of what we should be doing. Because we can't beg them to change. They ain't going to. Why would they change when this has benefited them so many hundreds of years? It has allowed them to amass so much power. So they wouldn't change. So we have to change. We have to empower ourselves. We have to make it so what they do don't affect us. And that kind of goes back to what we're talking about and what we're trying to do here at the Republic of New Africa. We're trying to build for self. We're trying to do nation building. Stop building up a nation that don't give a damn about you. Let's do for self. And I yield on that.
Okay, Ashe. You already heard it. You heard it.
Definitely. So hopefully we're gonna give Mama Ayo a chance to get back in. But when we come back, we got a cadre corner. And that cadre corner is what are we talking about? War in America, the Malcolm X doctrine.
War in America, the Malcolm X doctrine. We're gonna go ahead and get into it.
Definitely. So we'll be right back after this, y'all. This is the New African Perspective. Free the land, free the land, free the land.
America, full of promises. Time to cash them in. You run from it quick. You never keep your word. I learned from it quick. You keep abusing me. You dumb. Europeans murdered 98% of the indigenous population right here in Turtle Island in order to steal the land. An entire nation of African people were captured and forced into a brutal system of chattel slavery just so they could work and cultivate the land. All wars are fought over land, not over terrorism, not over religion, not even to win the hearts and minds of the people, but for the actual land and the resources within the land. So it is safe to say that land is the foundation to all freedom. So if we truly want to be free, then our struggle is for land. Free the land.
Study the writings, speeches, documents of our freedom fighters in order to free our neo-colonialized minds. This is the Cadre Corner.
All right, Mama Ayo, is on you.
Free the land. Today, we are going to delve a little bit into this particular document that was written, of course, by one of our elders and founders of the Republic of New Africa, which is called War in America, the Malcolm X Doctrine. And it's a series of just thoughts and plans that Imari put together. He kind of gave us a historical overview at first that had several conversations with our comrade Malcolm X. We are calling ourselves Malcolmites. And they had put together a program that of what they wanted to put together in those days in which he had been ostracized by the Nation of Islam. And unfortunately, some of those plans and, of course, goals were interrupted at the time. This book, interestingly enough, was written almost a year and a half before the founding of the Republic of New Africa on March 31st, 1968. This was written in 1966 by comrade warrior Imari Obadeli. And he just goes over some strategies and tactics, always citing the state of Mississippi at that time when it was written as having a large population of new Africans. So our plans and goals during that time would be to make the most of those particular townships that were the majority Black at the time. Some of those townships still exist today as majority Black. However, as we say, we are neo-colonialized subjects. So we definitely, we may have the population, but we definitely do not have the will. The particular version that I have, of course, was reformatted by Baba Ukali Mwendo, and he formatted this particular version. There are several versions out there, but basically they all contain the same information. And he breaks it into various topics that he addresses, such as some of them the New Warfare, Part 1. He has a Part 2, the New Society in which we want to build. And of course, the epilogue that Bobby Amari wrote about, 1968. It is full of great information, and it challenges us that to ask ourselves, as we always ask on these founding documents of the Republic of New Africa, the assessment of 1966, 1967, 1968 of the condition of new Africans, of our plans and goals to build a new Africa. Are they still valid? Do they still require us to look at it, assess it, update it? And in my opinion, as we go into work, study, and training over these documents and in our particular units and certified districts, yes, new Africans, this book is still viable. The plans, the goals, the strategy and tactics that Imari Obadeli asked of us, of course it's viable. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a Chokwe Lumumba in Medgar Eversville implementing those particular strategy and tactics. We wouldn't have mayors, governors. Our challenge is, if we are using these strategy and tactics, are we using it to the benefit of capitalism, imperialism, neo-colonialism, or are we going to use these particular strategies and tactics to the freeing of the land and implementing what we call self-determination, freeing the land, transforming our society? And he does mention some wonderful, wonderful examples. He, of course, mentions Robert Williams in his pamphlet, and someone that we haven't heard about, Baba Adefumi, who actually set up the first, I would say sovereign, not the first, but a sovereign state called the Oyatunji village. So, I mean, there's so much stuff in here. I just, every time I read it, I'm like, oh, got to remember this, got to remember that, and of course, apply it. So, comrades, War in America, the Malcolm X Doctrine, written by, of course, Imari Abubakari Obadeli, 1966.
Okay. War in America, the Malcolm X Doctrine. Do you know where we can get this particular?
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
New Africans, comrades, go into our website, www.pgrna.com. Register, put your information in, and you can actually download a version. Also, if you come to New African Nation Day in South Carolina, Charleston to be specific, you will probably find that there are some copies being printed off. So those are the two places that I would recommend. And with that, I yield.
All right, War in America. At our website, pg-rna.com. You need to get your hands on this one. Your political education will go like this after reading that. But he talked about a lot of strategies about, infiltrating and really taking over, politically, gaining political power and all of these type of things, which kind of leads us to our topic today, because tomorrow is election day and you're hearing
That's right.
everybody say, hey, you want to go and make your voice be heard, you got to go out and vote. And if you don't vote, I don't want to hear anything from you. Shut your mouth, stop complaining, because you're not important if you don't vote. So the question that we pose today is, voting has voting really been the solution for Black people? Is it the solution for Black people? Or is it the most effective way that we should go about gaining our liberation? So I'm gonna open that up.
Yes, indeed. Unless it is the way that Baba Obadeli spoke about in War in America, in terms of doing it with a strategy, and specifically to be able to take over a whole area. And that, mind you, that's very calculated. That means that you are making sure that every position that is possibly available, you already got somebody for that position. You trump tight, and usually that is usually not the case, that we move that organized as new African people, as Black people in certain areas. So voting has not done us well. Just voting arbitrarily as well at all, historically speaking. So we if we went down a timeline from every administration, presidentially, every mayoral administration, locally, you will see what voting has gotten our society. You will see what voting has gotten the new African communities. So overall, we analyze and we do pros and cons. We're gonna come down to the same solution that we, as new African people working within the new African movement, came down to. We have to build all remedies within this particular system has been exhausted. So our only politics is revolutionary politics.
That's right.
Oh,
Ayo, you want to chime in?
Oh, always, because we know that after the Civil War, we had a plethora, and I should say a significant amount of senators from these new African states, the slave states we call them, and they were doing some wonderful things. They were in the Congress at a time, and what happened after, after, of course, all of those things were reversed. People were lynched, murdered, rights were taken away. We literally had what we call a reversal of the attempt to be more participatory in capitalism, imperialism, white supremacy, enslavement of people, which was against our human rights. We've always made the attempt to be participatory. We've always let it be known that we wanted our 40 acres and a mule. We always let it be known that we want to build our own societies. We have examples. Then after we, of course, had all these horrible laws that were on the books, and the lynchings, by the way, don't forget the lynchings. Did we vote for lynchings as a form of punishment that this government was allowed to mete out? The mayors, the sheriffs, the citizens, the so-called citizens of all of these places. Did we vote that was something that was incorporated into our laws? Did we vote for the chain gangs? Did we vote for dogs chasing us down? Come on. Let's not forget our history. And then we jump forward when Black people from the Harlem Renaissance on decided that it was time for us to build and to create and to love on ourselves. Fast forwarding it through the 50s and the 60s, where we were still being aggressed upon, and we had the Great Migration from the South. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? And when the 60s came and there was a so-called call for voters' registrations and rights, this country, the people of this country, let us know what they thought about that. There were dogs put on us, water put on us, people were murdered, people were lynched again. and we bought the okie doke because they said, oh, we can join, you can join us. We voted for integration. We marched for integration. We boycotted for integration. We did everything we were supposed to do to show goodwill. We actually manifested the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, because if you say that we're supposed to be participatory, we're going to be participatory. What does that look like? 2022. We even put a Black president on the books, unprecedented. Put him in the history books to be made a tool of capitalism, imperialism, white supremacy, and racism. And here we are, all of us across the country have witnessed the Trumpites, have witnessed the attack on the Capitol. And we still want to vote. We still want to vote when we are products of reversal of all the laws. We are still products of this new attempt to wipe out the history of Africans in this country. And we still want to vote when every single time we have voted for somebody who looks like us, they have to fall under the what we call the red, white, and blue machine. We're still begging for reparations instead of demanding for reparations. And we still want to vote, and we still put in Black politicians that look like us. And when they get on that seat, they become traitors to the community. Are you serious? I yield.
Exactly.
Hey, shots fired.
So real quick, so the only vote y'all really need to be concerned about is voting during our plebiscite, the Republic of New Africa's plebiscite, to be 100% independent and self-determined. Okay, that's the only vote you need to be concerned about. So if you want to vote, say I want to vote, put it in the so we can tag.
Yeah, definitely. Plebiscite is definitely a vote that I would definitely cast. But y'all said some very, very powerful things that I agree completely with. Sometimes I think we get confused about the goals and objectives of our movement, because you hear a lot of people nowadays say, well, your ancestors worked so hard, they fought and bled and died for the right to vote. And I think they're kind of confused about history, because voting has never been the goal. The goal has always been the liberation of our people. Voting was simply a tactic that our people hoped would help get us closer to that ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. We didn't die just so we can vote for somebody who can uphold the values and principles of the systems that oppressed us. That's not the goal. The goal is liberation. That was the goal of our ancestors. And now we have historical example after example after example that shows that this is not the way, this is not the path to our liberation. Mainly because once you understand how the system operates, it ain't about individuals. We're not going to get an individual super politician coming down to the sky, coming down from the sky that's going to win office and save us. That's not going to happen, because the system is not going to allow it to happen. I mean, we should have learned that, because we thought we had Superman Obama coming down to save the day, and he didn't do it. Regardless of whether he wanted to or not, I don't really know. Don't really matter, because it didn't happen. The only thing that happened was the same continuation of the imperialistic policies of the empire. So, what you saying?
I said Obama was a pacifier.
Yeah, that's definitely what he did. And honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest, I really hate when a lot of these really liberal, we're gonna fight white supremacy and do all these things, these people who talk good get into office, because what that happens is they pacify our people and we stop moving, because the true power, true change is going to come from the movement of the people. And Obama, that just, everybody was like, well, yo, we got Obama now, we're going to let him do it. Let's go, Obama. And no, you know, his job is not to change the system. Their job is to maintain the system. You know, or they might reform it in some type of a way so you can stop complaining so damn much, but really that only makes it run more efficiently, because the system is built on the exploitation of the people. And as long as the nature of the system exists, that's what's going to happen, regardless to who gets in office. So, I mean, if you want to continue to feel like you're making a difference, go ahead. You know, I ain't saying, hey, I don't care if you go out and vote or not. I ain't saying don't do it. That's on you. That's your decision. But don't think that, okay, you're making you packing a punch for the liberation of our people. You're changing the system, because you're not. The system ain't broke, y'all. The system is doing what it was designed to do. It is operating perfectly. We have to understand what it was designed to do, and therefore remove ourselves from a system that was not designed to benefit us. Point blank, period. Let me pull Mama Io back in.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I'm with you, Madam President. You want to vote for a plebiscite so we can get the hell up out of this thing. And I yield.
That needs to be the only vote that we collectively need to be concerned with. And you know, based upon how we move, you know, first of all, the ancients say the first rule of thumb is to know thyself, right? Have a strong sense of self. And because we collectively don't have a strong sense of self, because that has been ripped away from us in so many different ways via traumas and dramas that we experience within this particular system, we've been mortified. You know what I'm saying? And we have these fear responses from trauma. We get it. We get it. Yet if it at any point, if we want to be liberated, we have to learn to know thyself, know where we come from, know our power, know who we are, know the reason why we are here, so that we can have a lot more, so we can learn to love ourselves. We know who we are, start loving ourselves. And when you love yourself, you do not put yourself in a position where other people don't love you and you stay there. That just doesn't equate. When you love yourself, you love everybody around you as well. You love your family, you love your community. You don't want to see other people in bad situations, and you do that which is necessary to get out of that bad situation at all costs, you know? So for me, it's always a reflection in terms of where we are, and in terms of self and how we look at ourselves, what our values, self-values. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's a reflection of our collective self-esteem. You know, it's like you got to really want this. You got to really, 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 really want it for your loved ones. It's not going to come from osmosis. We the ones that have to put in this work. We the ones that have to put in our own systems from our own perspectives that are in alignment with universal law and order. So our sense of self right now, it's really concerning me, y'all. Like, it really, really, really is. I think like we all just need a hug. like, are we okay? We need some love, you know, love, self-love, loving each other. Love, we gotta pull ourselves out of this rut.
Yeah, all of these things are the manifestation of living for centuries under a colonial power. It's a colonized mindset. It is detrimental when you are under the power, leadership, and authority of individuals who deem you to be inferior, who have stated that within their government documents that you less than a human being. And then everything in their society reinforces it, you know. Everything in their society reinforces it. I mean, just look at, you know, we was talking about music and how, you know, these certain people who run the music industry profit off of music that celebrates the murder of Black people, you know. So, I mean, just think, you're a child. You listening to a song that celebrates murdering people that look like you. Let you dance to it, party, have a good time to people talking about murdering people that look like you. But then that same artist who brags about murdering people that look like you say the least bit a thing. It don't even have to be offensive, but anything that can be perceived as negative about other individuals and they get crushed. What kind of message does that tell that young person? Be like, well, you know what? We celebrate me dying, but you getting upset or offended gets us crushed, gets us demolished. I mean, these type of things, we don't look at it like that, but that's the message just that we are told every day. And this is it's not something by accident, y'all. They are profiting off our exploitation. A lot of times we look at the music industry and say, well, there's black people making that music. Oh, it's the European people with the means of production. Those individuals who have the resources to put the money out is will dictate what music gets played and what music people make. Because trust me, I used to be in music. I used to be a rapper, and I wrote inspirational, positive music. And I quickly was known, at a point in time. And I remember when it switched, because I started off with the KRS-One Public Enemy era. And then eventually it moved to the NWA and OWN, Too Short and OWN era. And by then they was like, well, what you talking about ain't really going. I'm so sorry. You need to dumb yourself down, and you need to talk about this, that, and that. Talk about you some bitches and hoes and killing and selling dope. And you'll be in there because you got talent, brother. Literally, these are conversations that I've had with people who are in music industry. So, it's not an accident. This is exploitation, period. You can go on.
I just want us to add to what you are saying, Prophecy, you right on point. We in constant warfare. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Warfare. And it's a bad war when it's a whole group of people that's at war and have been at war, are prisoners of war, which we are. New Africans are prisoners of war here in this particular country, empire, I should say, imperial power. We are prisoners of war. This is constant warfare. Brother Prophecy talked about the music. Everything is utilized as warfare against us as highly melanated people. You got to realize that, y'all. That's why we say we have to step on. If we on this journey to building for self and building this new African nation, we have to step 100% out of the box. That box includes all the different aspects that are ruled by European power, that are ruled by this foreign power, right? All those different aspects, food, clothing, shelter, transportation, education, military, all of those things. We have to step out of the box, not only just on those physical levels, but also mentally, psychologically. That's why it's important for us not to put ourselves and our children in these institutions, which are the training camps for colonized minds that we're experiencing. Like at some point we have to do something different, and that's the call right now. That's our call. That's our war call. Free the land.
Definitely.
We got to be the ones, and we got to make better decisions. We can't say, oh, well, it's time out for straddling the fence, y'all. We can't do it no more. That's straddling the fence. We see where that's getting us to as well. You see, I'm just saying.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go to a couple of comments. We got a lot of people who are just chiming in. I think this is what L1 Villarreal. I'm sorry if I messed up your name. I do apologize. I'm sorry. Says lynching was just made a federal offense recently. And that's true, because the anti-lynching bill was just passed. And they've been trying to get this thing passed for so long. And I remember clearly during the George Floyd uprising America was just burning and everybody pissed off, and the white establishment was like, oh shit, we got to do something. Every time you turn on the TV, you saw Netflix. We're with you, Black America. We're with you, Black people. The NFL. We're with you, Black people. Every major corporation in America was talking about, we're with you, Black people. But then you turn around and Black people got basically no policies passed that benefit us. Only thing we got was a Juneteenth of holiday, a holiday that we was already celebrating. But then I guess it means something now that white people said, we sanction it, we allow you to do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but no discussions about reparations. Barely got an anti-lynching bill. No George Floyd bill, but we got a dozen LGBT bills. The Asian community were facing some issues for a year after COVID. They got an anti-hate bill, but Black people who you said y'all with so much, you know, what we get? Zero. All remedies have been exhausted. There goes Sister Catherine. How you doing, Queen? That's our queen right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a true soldier in the struggle. She always be on the move doing her things, and we appreciate you doing that. President Obama didn't do a specific thing for Black people. And that's kind of what I was just talking about. We're always been told, you know, especially, you know, first of all, Democrats and Republicans both full of crap. You know, only thing about it, Republicans let you know up front, I don't like you. Democrats pretend that they like you, then turn your back and say, I don't like them. But yeah, Democrats basically exploit Black people in order to gain political power, because our so-called vote, which we're talking about, helped to put them in power, give them an advantage over the other party. So therefore, they promise a lot of things, but once they get in office, it's like, bye-bye, I don't need you anymore. So yeah, just another part of exploitation. Comrade Atiba said all remedies have been exhausted. Definitely.
One.
Let's see what else we got going on here. Brother Freedom Power. Any man that will give you the vote and call you free will enslave you. So yeah, basically the whole illusion of democracy, like Malcolm X said, in America, democracy is hypocrisy. So yeah, I mean, you know, voting is the illusion that you're actually changing something within the system. But this two-party system between the devil and the Satan, neither one of them is really here to change things. They're here to maintain a system that is based on the exploitation of the people. And the sooner we get that through our thick heads, the sooner we'll realize we need to stop involving ourselves within their system and do for self. We got a lot, so I'm gonna read one more, and then we're gonna go to our Black Power file. Just before leaving office, Obama signed a $1 billion contract with Corrections Corporations of America to build a massive for-profit concentration camp for women and children asylum seekers fleeing from the most dangerous places on the planet. Example, Hillary Clinton orchestration of the Honduran, you know, coup under Barack Obama's watch made Honduras the most violent and dangerous place on planet Earth. One cannot burn down a neighbor's home and not offer them refuge. Ooh, shots fired, shots fired. But yeah, I mean, you talk about like how Obama, well, the people talk about how bad Trump's immigration policy was. And it was really bad, but that's really a part of the system, y'all. Because Obama came in and he basically, as the comment just said, basically did the same thing. Basically did the same thing, you know. Created concentration camps with Corrections Corporation of America. Learn about that corporation if you don't know, because that's very significant in this whole thing called the prison industrial complex, and who profit massively on the incarceration of our people. So yeah, you know, anyway, We could talk about this all day, but we got a Black Power file coming up. Who we got on our Black Power file, Queen?
We got our first president of the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa, Robert Williams.
All right,
And
first. What you saying? I thought you were saying something. Okay, so we're gonna get into that right after this. This is the New African Perspective. Free the land, y'all. Free the land.
America, full of promises. Time to cash them in. You run from it quick. You be real. I fight for land, independence, and for reparations. We gotta do for self-determination.
Being independent is a very, very good thing because it means that you don't have to be dependent, especially on people who don't like you. I mean, growing your own food, like teaching your own babies our real history, the real truth.
As a people, we are not grown unless we have independence. We are not grown as long as we living under another man's system, operating in his way of things, his laws, and his ordinances that support his rule, actually. So to me, it's not the importance of self-determination and independence. It is mandatory.
How we could make a change. Leaders, scholars, freedom fighters, all those soldiers who've been struggling for the liberation of black people. This is the Black Power File.
Black militant Robert Williams voluntarily returned from self-exile today and immediately was arrested as a fugitive.
The reality is that America is not God, America is not the end of the earth, and it doesn't matter what the Americans think. In the final analysis, the truth will come out. Well, I advocated violent self-defense because I don't think you can really have a defense against violent racists and against terrorists unless you're prepared to meet violence with violence.
That was just a little bit something from our comrade, our ancestor, your ancestor now, right? Yeah. The great, late, infamous Robert Williams, also the author of this awesome book called Negroes with Guns. And if you saw on the clip, he really wasn't shy about telling people we got the right to defend ourselves, and that's something that we should be doing. But what do you think about freedom fighter Robert Williams?
Look, the first thing that comes to my mind, now that's a man right there. That's for real. That says, look, from this is how I see his persona. Okay, he said, look, I'm a man of this community. I'm a respectful husband. We work hard in this community, and this is going on. This is common sense now. And you bringing all of the fire, and we just trying to build. No, we're going to protect that which is ours, and we're going to defend ourselves. Like he said, we're going to meet fire with fire. Period. He stood ground. Like, no, I'm protecting the culture that's being built. I'm to maintain that which we have. No, by any and all means necessary. So I love it. That's the energy that we have to have. You know, it's like every ancestor, elder that we have shows us qualities that we need to have as new Africans moving forward with great tenacity and integrity. You know,
definitely, Mama Aya. What you think about the great freedom fighter, comrade, or Robert Williams?
Well, that's someone, he and his wife, if you notice, They had to endure quite a bit. They were literally sent out of this country. They leave. They were still in communications. They set up a radio show, a radio broadcast that was still talking to the people of their community and what we call the New African Independence Movement, civil rights. And what I admire about it is because he implemented, he and his wife and others, because there were other brothers and sisters who had to actually rally around that particular battle cry in order for it to even make national news, that this community was going to defend and protect the women, the children, and the elders. This community was prepared to
I think Mamayo was having some difficulty. Still there? Yeah, I guess not. But yeah, Robert Williams, a real. You want to take over because I was actually in the middle of doing something.
I think Mamayo came back in. I was about to finish her sentence though. This community was willing to take up arms and defend by any means necessary, by all any means necessary, and willing to do the necessary training and organization. That because it wasn't random. That was a whole organized effort, like Mama Ayo said. It was organized effort.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, we're going to control our area, our territory.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. And to let us know that that was an example, that is something that we must be able to reincorporate into our communities, our units, because it's community control. Community will dictate the politics of the city, the town. And then you have a plethora of little towns in New Africa that will dictate the policies that whoever you put in office as the governor at this particular time, until we are ready to launch that plebiscite to tell the world by vote that we are free and the land independent. And then after the vote, stand ready to defend ourselves, establishing the nation beyond contradiction. Malcolm X doctrine. So when you do that, it lets the world know. It lets the neocolonialism, white supremacy, capitalism know that as a people, we have the right to determine the way we want to live, the way we want to raise our children. It is not presuppose that we gonna follow your ways and means. You've had 500 years or more on this earth, and since certain people came out the caves, if we want to get real clear about it, and you have shown the world over time that you are ill-equipped to be in harmony with nature, life, all the laws of man. You're ill-equipped. All you've done is wreaked havoc and set up a system that oppresses rather than elevates. So Robert Williams and his wife and the people that he was involved with, our first president of the Republic of New Africa, he came from what we called a communist, scientific, socialist point of view. Even though he didn't know it, he just stood up for what was right. How you gonna just let anything happen to the women, children, and the elders in the community and call yourself a man, the head of the house?
Come on now, look now, look at
definitely. Yeah. So salute to our ancestor Robert Williams, because when you think about it, we just talked about how this so-called system came down on people for just a critique, for making a post, how they try to viciously attack people for making statements that they don't agree with. But when you think about it, what are we trying to do? We're trying to build a nation. We're trying to build a nation and cut off their stranglehold on us. We ain't just trying to criticize them. We're trying to leave them alone. And last I heard, they don't just pass our nation. They ain't you can't just go down to the post office and sign up for a nation. So it's a good chance that at some point in time we got to be willing to fight for what we want. So the whole principles behind self-defense, behind training, behind standing up for yourself, your community, your family, your nation, your race, all of the things that our dear brother advocated for, we're gonna have to take it to heart. And y'all, I'm about to my phone.
Okay, well, I think Brother Prophecy chimed out for just a second. Yet, okay, now look at this picture on the screen. You see, this is one of the most beautiful Black love pictures I have ever seen, personally. Mama Ayo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
It's standing out right there on the screen, on the right hand corner of my screen. Huh? That's what I'm talking about. Look, I got y'all. And then, of
Yep,
course,
my ride or die. My ride or die right there.
back there like, look, and I got the field and the elders. Look, working. Look, we're gonna hold this down, and we're gonna work our plan of action. Plan of action. This was not random. Remember, this was organization to make sure everything went smoothly, to be able to protect that which was being built. So yeah, it's just a beautiful thing, and of course, it's an honor to walk in the footsteps of our first one of our first cabinet members of the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa, and to know that we are here to continue the beautiful work that has been laid down. It is most definitely an honor. It's an honor. It's not might be the most uh so this when the elders say it's a struggle, the struggle, yeah, it's a struggle. Yeah, it's an external struggle and an internal struggle. And at this point, we got to really, really zero in on those internal struggles, what keeps our feet from moving, right?
Absolutely.
Because I feel like
Absolutely.
a lot of us really, really, really want it. We really, really,
Okay.
really, really want it. But we got to put in that work. Brother Prophecy says his phone died. So we're going to go ahead and close out. Mama Aya, do you have any other minute words for our people?
Just know that be very, very sure about what you're voting, making sure that you hold the people, especially who look like us and really who don't look like us. If they say they're supposed to do certain things for our community, particularly our neighborhoods, hold them accountable and let them know through your voice, through emails, whatever, that they will not be in that office long. They have disappointed the people. They have actually committed treason against the people, and that's the power. That's the power. What we're trying to get to a point is our power is we want the 5 states in the South. We are in alliance with the indigenous and the aboriginals who say that this land belongs to them. We are in alliance with all the African countries who are neo-colonialized puppets and are suffering because of it. We are in alliance with all of the South American countries, islands who they've transplanted African slaves and they have killed off the indigenous, and it's all the mixed down. We are in alliance when you say freedom land, get the queen, the king, whoever out of your land and begin to unite the world under truth, justice, righteousness, law.
Okay, so as you can see, we are having technical difficulties.
be the land.
Okay, you back your the sound is messing up. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. We are New African Perspectives. We are here every Monday around 1ish, even though today we started closer to 3. We had to maneuver some things, but we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We appreciate all of your comments, comrades. Make sure that you stay strong, stay zeroed in, and stay focused. 10 toes down, all the way. All right. One thing we want to let you know that we are most definitely a part of NABA, New African Broadcast Association. That's right there, up there in the right-hand corner. We do all propaganda, all shows coming from a New African perspective as we move forward in this New African independence movement and expand and implement that which is necessary to implement for our ultimate liberation, establishing self-determination. So other shows to look forward to that are a part of the New African Broadcast Association. We have, well, today is Monday, so tomorrow, Tuesday, we have Foundation of the Nation, which is hosted by myself and Mama Ayo, discussing all things New African family, right? And all the different aspects. On Thursday, we have the conversations with comrades hosted by Brother Prophecy and our dear brother Atiba. And then on Fridays, we have the Truth and Power Corner hosted by our queen, Sister Melly Queen. And then up again on Sundays, we have the Voices of New Africa. So make sure you are chiming in. If you want to donate to the New African Broadcast Association, you can do it at $, capital N, capital A, capital B, A, capital A, radio. It's right there on the screen. Hey, you know what it is. We can't, certain things that we have to put into implementation and make happen and bring it into fruition. Need some coins, y'all. So if you're loving what you hear, always go ahead and donate. Okay. So until next week. Hold on. Let's see. My timing sucks right now.
And when you bring it in, you brought it in for the purpose of weakening the revolutionary tide of the people.
It must not be a capitalist system, but we don't want to exploit anybody. We don't want to be exploited, and we don't want to exploit anybody.
Ain't nobody going to do it for us. It's nobody outside of yourself, nobody outside of ourselves that's going to do this work for us. We have to put in that real work.
Because the better you are in exploiting people, the more successful you are within capitalism.
We want to say salute to all our political prisoners, our POWs, our elder comrades in exile.
The satisfaction we need as a people only comes through liberation and independence.
Because we're not just building for self, we're building for the family, because the family is broken. We're building for the community is broken. The nation is broken, the race is under attack. We're in a state of emergency.